So now, Olga is a test automation developer at TradeMe, which owns and operates the homes.co.nz website. She is building a test automation suite from the ground up and helping the team to deliver quality software with confidence. Today, Olga is going to cover why she believes automation is getting easier nowadays thanks to modern frameworks and tools. Please join me in welcoming Olga Baranovskaya.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is my first ever public talk. Pretty nervous, but today I'd like to talk about the incredible simplicity of automation nowadays. I've picked this topic because I've been asked many times if it's possible to start your career in automation without any background in programming. And I believe it's absolutely possible. Moreover, modern frameworks are designed to help you in this journey. Maybe I should stay closer.
How's that?
Okay, I'll do that. Before I start talking about frameworks, let me just quickly introduce myself. So about 8 years ago, I started my career in testing, and about 5 years ago, I started learning automation. Currently, I'm a test automation developer at TradeMe, and during all these years, I've never had a chance to pick a tool or change what have already been used on the project. Until a year ago, I joined a relatively small company where I had to build the automation almost from scratch. So this company was Homes. It's recently acquired by TradeMe. You might have visited our website if you were looking for a property to buy or to sell, or you were just wondering about the property estimates. According to Google Analytics, Homes.co.nz has around 25 million page views and around 1 million unique users per month. And it's quite a lot for New Zealand. As a test developer, I needed to cover web functionality to make sure that our users have the best experience. And I could choose any tool for that. So I decided to find out first what's available on the market. Turned out that today we live in great times when it comes to web testing. We have lots of options, more than ever before. And on one hand, it's great. Any possible requirement can be met. On the other hand, it's really hard to choose and make a commitment. I'm sure this list is not full, but does anyone know all of them? Anyone? Of course, it's impossible to know all of them, and I didn't look through all the options. Let me just show you my short list. So these 5 I considered as a possible solution for my end-to-end testing. All of them support JavaScript. That was #1 criteria since Homes frontend is written on Angular. Some of them I used before, like Protractor, and some of them were quite popular in testing community. So that's how they ended up in my short list. Next step, of course, it was lots of reading, comparing them, learning about their features, pros, cons. But since I'm a very visual person and I love numbers and statistics, so let me show you a couple of charts that I find interesting. Like NPM downloads for the past 2 years. The trend I saw a year ago now is even more obvious. I'll use this fancy tool. So in 2021, Cypress surpassed Selenium. And it's kept growing, getting approximately 4 million downloads per week, which is quite amazing. The second from the top, the red line, is Selenium. The third one is Protractor, seems to be quite stable. And Playwright has recently started to gain its popularity. Just look at this spike over here. It's more than 1 million downloads that week. So must have been a great marketing campaign. In case you are curious about these drops on the graph, that's December, and seems like no one downloading automation tools during Christmas. Another interesting metric is star history. I know it's much more subjective, but it gives us some kind of rating. And look at this competition between Cypress and Playwright. It's interesting that Playwright has got an impressive amount of stars in the past 2 years, as many as actually Cypress got in 5 years. So who knows, maybe Playwright is the future leading automation framework. And it's not a secret what I've chosen. I've chosen Cypress. And today, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Cypress to give you a taste what Cypress is and why actually it is so popular. So just a brief summary. Yes, I did my homework. So it started in 2015. It's built on top of Mocha. Initially, it was built for front-end developers to do end-to-end testing. But it's become quite popular among testers. And now it can do not only end-to-end, but API. And a month ago, Cypress has released support for component testing, which is quite exciting. So also Cypress can be integrated with other tools to do visual testing and accessibility testing. It's open source, but some features are available in paid version. And what makes Cypress a unique tool is Cypress doesn't use Selenium. And it's quite important to understand how Cypress is different from Selenium. So I draw just the simplest diagram I could think of to give you an overview. When I say Selenium, I actually mean Selenium WebDriver, and it sits in between your tests and the browser. And the tests, they use a WebDriver API to execute remote command by sending HTTP requests through the network. Whereas in Cypress, there is no mediator in between. Tests are actually run in the browser. So your test code is like one iframe, and the application you're testing is like another iframe, and they both run in the same run loop, which is quite amazing. This approach makes testing much more faster and gives Cypress a lot of advantages, like built-in waiting. So Cypress will automatically wait for DOM to fully load, for animation to complete, for requests to respond, for an element to become visible. And when you're writing your test, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Moreover, Cypress has a built-in check-in if the element is ready to receive the action. So, for example, if your submit button is somewhere at the bottom of the page, Cypress will automatically scroll down to make the button visible. Then it will check that the button is not hidden, not disabled, not covered, not detached from DOM. And only when the button is ready, Cypress will click on it. And to visually show you what I mean by saying it's easy to write tests in Cypress, let's have a look at this simple example. Imagine you need to write a test where you type in something into the input, then you click a toggle to mark the item as completed, and then click on the button. if I used Selenium and JavaScript for writing this test, that would look like this. So wait until WebDriver navigates to the page. Then wait until an element found by CSS appears on the page. Then wait and wait and wait until assertion in the end. And it makes total sense because we use asynchronous functions and awaiting for their result. Because web page loads dynamic content. But in Cypress, the same code looks much more human readable. And you don't actually have to know JavaScript to be able to understand it and to write in Cypress. All this JavaScript complexity is hidden away by Cypress API. So simple visit to navigate to the page. No need to explicitly specify how to get an element by CSS or by XPath. It's just get or contains. No need to explicitly wait for elements. Cypress does it for you. I know that code simplicity is not a key factor when you are choosing a tool, but people come into testing with different skill sets. And most of the time, it's with no programming skill sets. And in Cypress, it's easier to get things up and running quickly because the learning curve is not so steep. Cypress has optimized a lot in user experience, starting from the very beginning, from installation. So it really could not be any easier, just one line, npm install Cypress. And you can use it straight away. It's already include test runner, assertion libraries, mock libraries, reporting service, and lots of pretty good examples that you can run and play with. I'd like to compare that to Protractor that I used before. So there I had to install Protractor, install or update my WebDriver manager, choose a test framework, choose assertion library, and to be able to make the right choice, you have to know what's the options and what's the differences. Then I had to install additional libraries like mocking libraries separately and manually organize reporting. As a result, a lot of advanced configuration before you even start. And if you're new to automation, that might be a challenge. Let's have a look at debugging experience in Cypress. So if you ever tried to debug in Protractor, I feel for you. And I know it's not easy to debug in any Selenium-based tool. But it's actually easy in Cypress because it has super interactive and intuitive test runner. It's basically a browser tab where you can see your application running on the right side and your tests are on the left side. The most amazing thing of the test runner is time traveling. When a spec is running, Cypress takes snapshots of your application before and after each command. And when you expand your test, you can see the log of all the commands. And once you select a command, Cypress will show the state the application was in when this command ran. So in this particular example, we can see the state of the form before we clicked on the drop-down list and after. So like before and after. And that makes debugging visual and so much easier. What else is easy to do in Cypress? It's mocking data. So you can use, I personally use it a lot in my UI tests because it's a very powerful tool, and you can spy on request and stub request using the same intercept function. In this particular case, I mock historical estimates used for building the chart. So I can run this test on any property. The estimate numbers will be the same. And also, I hope you can see that. In Cypress shows the list of the intercepted requests before the test body, and it shows whether the request was stabbed or not, and how many times this request was called. It's really convenient for both writing and debugging. Oh yes, just wanted to say that it helps to prevent flakiness in the test. It significantly reduces flaky tests, but reduce doesn't mean eliminate at all. So end-to-end tests are prone to be flaky. No matter how hard you try to follow all the best practices, they will be flaky. And here is what Cypress has to help us managing flaky tests. So first of all, it tests retries. Apparently, we don't have a zero flaky test policy, but so Cypress allows you to define different retry attempts for run mode, that's the headless mode, for open mode when you use the test runner, and for individual tests or test suites. When a test run in CI/CD pipeline and fails, Cypress retries to run it again and again, depending on how many retries you defined. And when the test eventually passes, Cypress will put a flaky tag on it, and you can see those tags on the dashboard. Also, dashboard provides you with some great analytics like overall flakiness, flaky rate, and based on this flaky rate, tests are ranged by severity level. I know it's not an essential feature, but I use it from time to time. It helps me to prioritize tests that needs a bit of more love and attention. Dashboard actually has quite a few really great reports that gives you powerful insight to all your test runs. For example, you can see how your tests are running in parallel in real time. On this screenshot, you can see how 22 specs are running in parallel on 8 machines. And sometimes when your tests are running longer than expected, maybe that's because the tests are not as parallel as you would like them to be, and you can easily see that in real time in the dashboard. In general, when tests are running in continuous integration, you lose some kind of visibility. So that's why anytime there is an error, Cypress will automatically capture a screenshot. It will also automatically save the video of the whole run, no matter passed or failed. Finally, it's easy to find information. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I'd love to mention that Cypress has an outstanding documentation. It has lots of guides from how to install to how to set up your pipeline. There are lots of good examples written and available for public. Also, Cypress has a large supportive community, so the chances that you will run into an issue that no one else encountered before are pretty low, and that can be very helpful as well. Let's talk about limitations in Cypress, because any tool has limitation, and it's better to know about them before than after. So first of all, Cypress is not a cross-browser tool. At the moment, it supports Chrome, Edge, Electron, Firefox, but it doesn't support Safari or Internet Explorer. Rest in peace. Maybe one day Safari will be added because it's been asked for a long time, but not yet. Cypress has limited support for iframes and pop-ups, and I say limited because there is a workaround. In Homes, we have just one pop-up. That's the login pop-up provided by the third company. And I just simply step the API to get a logged-in user. But if your application has lots of iframes or pop-up, and you use them for the critical workflow, that might be not easy, but it's still possible. Cypress cannot use two browsers at the same time, and it cannot switch between multiple tabs. It is what it is. Same superdomain. Oh, just scroll down a little bit, my notes. Same superdomain per test. This limitation was fixed a month ago, so now it's possible to make cross-origin tests or cross-origin requests in your test. And I decided to leave it here in the list just as a good example of growing feature set and possible just a hope that, that Safari one day will be added as well. Conclusion. Finally, so to sum up, I'd like to say that there are lots of automation tools on the market at the moment, and they all have their purposes and places. And I'm not saying that Cypress is the best framework, but it's definitely a good one, especially for those who just started their journey in automation. It works out of the box, it has quick return on time investment, it's accessible for all skill levels, and it's really fun to use. So automation can be easy, and if you've never tried it, just give it a go. Thank you.
You smashed it. Amazing. Okay, we've got time for a few questions. Last I saw the box, oh, there it is. So, who has a question? Okay, this one's close by, just down here. Awesome.
Thank you. I think you have mentioned, so I think Selenium can support multiple languages, but the Cypress can only support JavaScript and TypeScript, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think Selenium will win. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Selenium.
Yes, I know there are lots of people big fans of Selenium. And yes, Selenium was designed to support different languages and different browsers. That's why Selenium WebDriver sits in between, so that you could use any language to talk to any WebDriver and then to test your application. Whereas, yes, Cypress is just JavaScript, and recently they added TypeScript. But let's face it, not many applications nowadays, web applications, use something else besides like Angular or React, so it's a pretty good to have JavaScript. I'm a big fan of JavaScript.
Awesome. Okay, over here, down the front here. Oh, amazing.
Very good presentation. Quick question. Just want to understand and get my head around how you use those tools that you've shown in the presentation, Selenium, Cypress, Protractor, and how you set up automation and training for your project. And that's part A of the question. And part B is how much of manual testing do you want to talk that? So that's probably a flavor of user experience.
Oh, that's a good question. So I will start with manual testing. I'm the only tester in Homes, so I have to do manual testing and automation testing, and we are trying to put as many test cases as possible into automation to eliminate manual testing. But we still do have it, and all the new features are going through manual testing, and there I use Safari to actually make sure that we show it properly. What was the other question about how do we set up automation?
To understand how you set up filling in Cypress and other tools in terms of the testing period.
We use just Cypress.
So in terms of the front end and your integration.
I'm not sure about the unit testing. I'm sure that we have unit tests in our project. We use Cypress for end-to-end and API, and I'm pretty excited about the component testing that will include in Cypress as well. So it's a part of integration tests, but hopefully we will be able to have them in one tool in one place.
Awesome. That's all we've got time for question-wise at the moment. But catch up with Olga anytime throughout the day. You can also ask questions on Slack, and all our speakers are engaging on Slack answering your questions. Let's give it up again for Olga. Amazing.